Jalen Williams was tremendous in the Game 3 loss for the Thunder, scoring 26 points on 9 of 18 from the field. But he did commit 4 turnovers. We'll see if the Thunder can clean that up tonight. Just moments ago, 3D, Dennis Scott with the head coach of the Thunder, Mark Daigneault.
All right, here with Coach Daggs. Daggs, the energy, the effort, the fight. When you watch the film, what do you tell your guys the match with Indiana's going to bring here tonight?
We know they're going to play like that. They play like that all playoffs, and we got to level up to that to compete in the game. I thought we had a lot of good moments in Game 3. They had more than we did, and if we want to win tonight, we have to have more than them.
Every game in this series has been about the turnovers. I know you had too many turnovers in Game 3. How do you limit that here for Game 4?
We've been pretty good there. It's only the second time in the playoffs that we've turned it over more than our opponent. And so it was a little bit uncharacteristic. We're not going to overreact to it. It's more about how we play on both ends of the floor. That's what we focused on.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Well, Coach's boss is Sam Presti. His plan over the last 6 years to get to this point, pretty remarkable. Remember, it started with the Paul George trade that got them Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and all those draft picks. Then in 2020, they go to the bubble with Chris Paul as the mentor and starting point guard. Mark Daigneault was hired in 2021, but the team only won 46 combined games over 2 seasons. Sam Presti used those draft picks on Chet Holmgren. Jalen Williams was also part of the Clipper trade in an indirect way. The Thunder finished first last year, lost in the second round to the Mavs. And then this year, 68 wins atop the West. And now 3 wins away from the franchise's first ever title. It's a remarkable story to see what Sam Presti's done and the runway they still have with all of the assets and youth, draft picks that they have, cap space that they have. But Charles, now we're looking at it. They could be 1 win or 1 loss away from not winning a championship when they were clearly the best team in basketball this year. What do you think the next couple games here mean for the evolution and maturation of this franchise?
Well, I think Sam Presti and Masai Ujiri are the 2 best general managers in the NBA, in my opinion, because other than Chet Holmgren, all those other players were later picks. I think it's easy to hit a lottery pick when you're picking in the lottery, but when you can draft guys like late, that tells you know what you're doing. They're the deepest team in the NBA. But what's going to happen is, man, you never know. You know, this team played for the championship with Durant, Russ, James Harden. Then they couldn't pay everybody. The check's going to come due for everybody. And then, I mean, obviously you're not going to do anything at SGA. Chet's going to be here. But Jalen Williams going to get paid soon. They're already paying Caruso and Hartenstein a lot of money. So this next few games are really important. But because they got so many draft picks and so many good players, they're going to be one of the favorites for the championship the next 5 years at least. Because no matter what happens with this rest of this series, they're probably going to be favored to win it next year again. So Sam is amazing. He's going to do a good job. But like I say, I think tonight is a big night for this Oklahoma City Thunder team because, like I say, I'm on the record. Whoever wins this game tonight, I think, going to win the series.
You know, I love general managers and presidents that don't fold under pressure. And last year, Presti, having the #1 record in the West, needed a big. And everybody was on him to trade some of his assets to go out and get that big, to give up some of his assets, and he didn't. And in free agencies, they were able to sign Hartenstein, who has helped them tremendously from a rebounding standpoint, being able to play alongside Chet, a great distributor, great for their offense. And so I like his action under pressure. Whether they win a championship this year, who knows? But to be able to be kind of the blueprint of what the NBA is trying to do now, which is gather a bunch of draft picks, draft correctly. You talk about drafting late, Wiggins, Wallace.
Yes.
Those additions were key. Like you said, you can't always hit the #1 or #2 pick, but to be able to draft those guys late and see them come in and really contribute has been huge.
They're talented. They're deep, as you've said many times. They're young. They're very young. They're the second youngest team to ever reach the finals. Is that part of what we saw the other night? Like Chet got off to that great start, and then his numbers kind of fell off a cliff as the game went along. Is the youth part of what's happening here on this stage?
Well, you know, it could play a role. Look, they've been so impressive the last 2 years, but they're still young in terms of playoff experience. But the bottom line is that youth is going to have to step up, and they've done that. Look, they played Denver down 2-1 on the road. They won Game 4. I'm not saying they'll win Game 4 here tonight necessarily, but I don't think they'll be rattled by the moment. They're going to have to make some adjustments. They're going to have to go out and execute and play good basketball. But I think mentally and emotionally, this group, this collective, OKC, the culture, Sam Presti, talk about his plan, the kind of character he brought in and not just talent. I think they'll be up for the challenge. Now, whether they can actually execute, make more shots, get stops, that remains to be seen. But I don't think they'll be rattled being down in this moment, even though they're a young group.
Yeah, listen, they've had the best record in the NBA really the last 2 years. They're not young. First of all, Hartenstein's not young. Caruso's not young. I really think the lineup shook their team up. I really do. I think it put, Kenny always talks about when you put guys back in, it puts everybody in their right spot. Nobody's been in their right spot since game one. Nobody's been in their right spot. I hope it don't cost them the series. I think it might have, but everything can go back to normal if they win tonight. Everything can go back to normal in my opinion.
Well, about 25 minutes, we'll find out what the Thunder starting lineup is for game 4. We'll see if they go back to what brought them here or if they continue to roll with the single big lineup with Hartenstein coming off the bench and Chet starting for the Thunder. Well, in NBA Finals history, the team that wins Game 3 when a series is tied at win goes on to win the title better than 80% of the time. That's what Pascal Siakam and the Pacers hope holds true here in 2025. A couple of moments ago, 3D Dennis Scott with the head coach of the Pacers, who's on the verge of potentially joining some elite company. Here's Rick Carlisle.
All right, guys. Rick, you've seen desperate basketball before. You know OKC's going to throw that first punch. What do you need to see to know you guys are locked in?
Well, they've been throwing the first punch every game, and so we're well aware. And they've been talking about playing with more force for 2 days, and so we're going to have to be ready. They're a great team, and they're going to come with it.
Your bench has been playing lights-out basketball. Do you have a different guy you go to? Is it the feel which guy you put in the game first?
It depends. Some of it's matchup related, some of it's feel related. But we try to keep consistency, but it can vary.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
2 wins doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a huge mountain for the Pacers to climb here. But I just want to put in kind of perspective what this potentially could do if the Pacers win a championship to the legacy of Rick Carlisle, who I think most would admit won one of the more improbable championships with Dallas back in 2011, beating that super team of LeBron, D-Wade, and Bosh in Miami. And then the potential, if they win this series, Chuck, against the Thunder, who were truly by all of the numbers and metrics and eye test, were one of the great regular season and playoff teams in the history of the league. Rick Carlisle has a chance to become just the 4th coach in league history to win a title with 2 different teams, and these 2 titles would be 2 that stand out and jump off the page.
Well, that was an amazing stat. I didn't realize it was only 3 guys that had won for multiple teams. Hey, listen, Rick's been an underrated coach for a long time. And, the one thing, he's changed a lot. And I got to give him a lot of credit because as a coach, you have to evolve. Now, he had the problems down in Dallas with Rondo because he wanted to call every play. Rondo's like, I'm not looking over to the bench every damn time to call a play. Rick changed. He gave these guys a lot more freedom. You got to give Kevin Pritchard a lot of credit for putting his team together, going out, getting Siakam. He's done a great job drafting players but the thing that people are not talking about, this team didn't come out of nowhere. They've had the second best record. Since Christmas, since January the 1st, they've had the second best record to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So it ain't like they shocked a couple of people. That's a long landing strip. So they've been amazing.
Yeah, really, since the 26th game of the season, December 13th, they've had the 4th best record in basketball. After a 10-15 start, they were tremendous. But what Rick Carlisle's done, to his point, he's not calling plays for Tyrese Halliburton. This is a different coach. We talk about Greg Popovich evolved through the 5 championships. Rick Carlisle's a different guy than he was a few years ago.
Well, before the Eastern Conference final appearance last year where they lost to Boston, they took Boston to the brink, especially in the first 2 games. It took a Jaylen Brown 3 to win that first game. they were having trouble on the defensive end. And Rick Carlisle reverted back to the Rick Carlisle of old and calling them out, saying, you're not going to win unless we defend on this end. And so obviously they made a couple tweaks. Obviously they were able to acquire Pascal Siakam last year, but it's been amazing to watch. I was fortunate to cover their game in France when they played San Antonio back to back, and to see how much they have improved, how much they are able to bounce back and not get rattled, how amazing they are down the stretch, I think is a testament to a coaching staff that has teams ready, prepared. They're playing defense and they're utilizing that, and he's letting Tyrese Halliburton play and create on the offensive end.
You know, you both make such great points. First of all, the ability to adapt and adjust, particularly when you've had success at a high level like he has as a coach, and recognizing the game's changing. Chuck said evolving.
Yeah.
Like, you can't underscore that enough. Like, that's not easy to do. So for him to recognize that is incredible. And then just sort of this hybrid approach. You know, you have this incredible freedom offensively, and it's actually beautiful to watch. Reminds me a little bit of like the 7 seconds or less Suns back in the day when they came on the scene. It was like, wow, it's magnificent. But then they still have that grit and that toughness on the defensive end. So almost like a hybrid approach, an old school coach with a lot of new school in him. And if he were to win here, you know, obviously now getting those flowers that he definitely deserves. But what a great coach, great leader, and a great job he's done with this team.
But Grant, here's another thing. It is a superpower as a player when you look to the bench and you know your coach has won a championship. You almost believe even more. So for these guys to understand, like Rick Carlisle has been there, he's done that, he knows what it takes. Obviously, it's different winning a championship every single year, but to have a coaching staff that is able to prepare you. And I'm telling you, the Pacers from top to bottom, from the first playoff game to now, have played the best basketball in the playoffs, and it's showing.
I know we got a long way to go, but if Rick were to win, the only bad thing about it is the Knicks asked for permission to talk to him.